This is a special microphone clip designed by a company called Wilkinson Audio. And what they've done here is create something really, really clever. It is basically a clip that clips onto an existing microphone. You can then attach another microphone to the microphone that you're using. For instance, like with this SM57, you can clip and attach another microphone like a condenser to it. For instruments such as snare drum, it will give you an easy way to pair two microphones and phase align them whilst using only one microphone stand, and it just really helps with the trickiness of trying to place two microphones together and keep them phase coherent. Wilkinson Audio also have some other cool mic clips like this XY one where it perfectly aligns the two microphones together, and there's also this one that has the Fredman mic clip, and I'll have more on these clips soon. But today we're going to be looking at the small diaphragm condenser and SM57 clip.
Before we do anything, I'm going to have to change this really battered old head here on this snare drum, because as much as microphones matter, what matters most is that, one, I play the snare good, but also the snare itself sounds good. So I'm going to replace this head right now. What I have here today is an Evans drum head that I've not used before, but I'm going to try it for pulling the snare sound we're going to be looking at today. And I don't have a Chad Smith signature snare drum, but I do have a shallow snare drum that's metal that is similar in dimensions to his, so hopefully that helps us get in the ballpark. Now what I've gone for is tone control, thicker ply kind of coated head, and hopefully that's going to really control the tone of the snare as we tighten it up a lot, because part of the signature sound is that really tight, aggressive snare sound that he pulls off. So hopefully this will get us there. And what I'm going to do is cross tune. So you tune the lugs across from each other. I'm going to be tightening this up pretty aggressively, and it really helps if you have two tuning keys. It makes this much quicker as a process. Cool. Very, very loose at the moment. So now we're going to work on cutting down some of that ring. These moon gels, if you haven't seen these before, there we go. So now that we've got the snare drum tuned and we've got it roughly in the ballpark, it's nice and tight sounding. We can adjust it a bit later if we need to, once we get things going, but for now it's close enough. Now we can use this little guy. So what you do, so if you have a look here, we've got our 57, which is commonly used for snare drum, top and bottom. But what you might not know is that on a lot of records, aka those Red Hot Chili Peppers albums, they employed both a SM57 and a small diaphragm condenser microphone on the snare drum, usually a KM84. Now I don't have a KM84, but I do have a bunch of different pencil mics, and I'm gonna go with the Octava MK012, and it tries to sound like a KM84, so, you know, let's just give it a go and see what it sounds like. What this clip from Wilkinson Audio allows us to do is you clip it onto the SM57 there, and then now, oh, that's tight. Oh. We can place our condenser microphone and attach it to the SM57, nice and easy on one microphone stand. And then what it allows us to do is perhaps back a little bit so the diaphragms can be lined up correctly. because as you should all know, what's most important is that the diaphragms are in line, so they're phase aligned, so they're not out of phase. So that helps you with that. And now we're ready to go.
One eternity later.
So yesterday I re-headed my snare drum, and what I noticed was that it was still kind of settling in as I was playing and stuff like that, and it kept going out of tune a little bit. So what I wanted to do is leave it, let it settle in. I just quickly tightened up the snare head again, and now I think we're much better and closer in the ballpark. Have a listen. And if you have a look, it's got the one moon gel over here. We're getting that ring. We've got like a nice natural metallic ring to the snare. It's really high pitched still, like that Chad Smith signature sound, but I think it's getting us in that ballpark, because what matters most is not the microphones, not the preamps, none of that stuff matters. What matters most is the sound source. So the snare has to be on point, and that's what we're doing today. So we've got the snare tight, tuned, snappy, and it's got that sound. Now our mics can do their job of capturing that. So I'm gonna do a quick line check, make sure everything's coming through, and then we're gonna start recording. So let's get into it. I think we're ready to go. Alright, so now we've recorded our drums, we can jump into Cubase and have a really good look at what we've captured sonically on each of the microphones, and have a bit of a listen to what's really going on with the condenser mics and the SM57, and how they're really bringing those sounds together to achieve that kind of Chad Smith sound that we're going for here. So let's dive in and have a look. And you will see kind of how close we're getting. Like, it's not 100% perfect. I'm not Chad Smith. I'm not playing on the exact same snare in the same room, but we're really getting close, and you'll hear how close we can get to that Red Hot Chili Peppers sound with just the way we recorded, using those mic setups, and then a little bit of sneaky processing as well. What you'll hear there is, like, I've obviously had to add some reverb to get that room sound that they have on that recording, and to get that real tonality of the snare. There's a lot going on, and I'll show you sort of quickly what I've done there. So if we go over to our snare channels, and I'll mute the reverb and some parallel compression I've got there. So first up, here's our 57.
And that's giving us a lot of body and mid-range thump and attack there. Then we've got our condenser mic. That's our small diaphragm condenser. And listen to the difference of attack on the 57. And when they're together, they combine to make this really nice sound that we're kind of aiming for, where there's a lot of tonality and the attack and the mid-range of the 57, but also the snappiness of the condenser and the body and weight of the condenser as well. And the real trick is then once we add our snare bottom in, that gives us a bit more attack there. If I link those channels back up, we're going to turn those effects back on. Cool. So obviously once we add all the processing back in, you can hear how those two microphones really add to the overall snare sound and the attack and the thump and the kind of different tonalities that we get from each of those microphones to really pull off that kind of Red Hot Chili Peppers snare. And I'm not going to go into everything I've done in the mix here because there's a lot of processing to try and add to those snare sounds. A lot of good compression, parallel compression, EQ, and all that sort of stuff. But if you'd like me to do a deep dive into how I did the mixing stage of this, hit me up in the comments section down below. It'd be awesome to take you guys through a sort of step-by-step how I got this snare drum sound and drum sound as a whole as well, because there is a lot to it. There's a lot of EQ moves you have to make, some interesting compressor choices and types of compression that you would want to look at to really pull the drums together. And then of course we can't forget the reverb sound as well. There's some tricks there that really help pull the snare out in the mix and give it that sound that we're hearing on this track. So if you're interested in that, hit me up in the comment section down below and I'll make a part 2 to this video where we go through the mixing stage. But I hope you enjoyed this video with the Wilkinson Audio mic clip. It really makes setting up an SM57 and a condenser mic really, really easy on a drum where we have such limited space sometimes to squeeze a couple of mics in. This little simple device makes everything so much easier, and there's nothing better than a tool that makes our job easier. So awesome job there, Wilkinson Audio, and I have some more of their mic clips actually that I might do some reviews on as well. So if you haven't already, hit like, hit subscribe if you enjoyed this content, and remember, you can also give me a super thanks down below. If you're really enjoying the content I make and want to contribute to the channel, every single cent that gets donated to the channel goes directly to making content like this. So thank you so much for sticking around. I'm Mitch from the DIYRecordingstudio.com, and I'll catch you soon.